Whether or not Rob stays or how long we can keep him in planning or it just becomes our Transport Minister, time will tell. But one of the greatest things he ever did was appoint this next person, the head of Department of Planning. Kiersten Fishburn, who we asked government, we want someone who understands Western Sydney in the spot, and wow, did they choose well. Kiersten, former CEO of Liverpool Council. I first met her when she was running the Arts Centre in Liverpool at Kajula, and then into head up the Minister's delivery unit. It's one of the toughest jobs you're ever going to have in bureaucracy. If you polled this entire room, everyone would have a view on DPI, Department of Planning. It's always the problem in every mix. Well, he put the woman in charge who has started a revolution and on delivery, and that's what Western Sydney needs. It needs collaboration and it needs delivery. Please welcome the new Director of Department of Planning and Environment, Kiersten Fishburn.
Thank you very much, and hello. I'd like to begin today by acknowledging the Wongal people whose land we are meeting on today, and to pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and extend that respect to any First Nations people here today. Thank you very much, Chris, for that really warm welcome, and the Western Sydney Leadership Dialogue for inviting me along today. So many familiar faces in the room. It feels kind of like coming home, being here in the best part of the state, working with you all. Really great as well to hear from the Premier this morning about his vision for putting Western Sydney at the heart of the state's post-pandemic recovery and his ambition to build it as a global city. And I look forward to my department working very closely with Professor Barney Glover to make that a reality. Also wonderful to hear from my own minister, or it's a little nerve-wracking going straight after the boss in case your speech is in direct contradiction to his. But other than discovering that we are the boiler room, which is an analogy which, I'll go with that one. I think you'll see that we're in furious accord. All of us here know that Western Sydney has always been the engine room for growth in New South Wales and in Australia, and now is absolutely no different. Western Sydney, of course, also holds a very special place in my heart, having been the Chief Executive at Liverpool. I've seen through that work the challenges and the opportunities for communities in the West. And while the West continues to do the heavy lifting in terms of jobs, investment, construction and housing, and even a new airport, now is also the time for the people of the West to reap the rewards for their efforts. That's why the Premier's Bradfield oration last week and his focus this morning on West Invest and other initiatives to support working families with improved livability is so important. Now, those of you who know me know that I could probably spend all day just talking generally about how great Western Sydney is. I'm sure some of you have been inflicted with that in the past, but Chris and the team gave me a specific remit today. They asked me to talk about the work that the government is doing to deliver on the vision for the Central River City. The Central River City, with Greater Parramatta at its beating heart, is a critical piece of the strategic planning puzzle for the government's vision for Greater Sydney. That vision, originally a metropolis of 3 cities spanning west to east, has now excitingly expanded to become a vision for not 3 but 6 cities, an even greater Sydney, to include the access from north to south, from Newcastle and the Central Coast to Wollongong. Achieving this vision is truly a collaboration between all 3 levels of government, and indeed all of us who wish to see Greater Sydney become one of the world's most livable, workable and beautiful regions. So today I want to talk about how we're putting the Central River City at the centre of the debate about Western Sydney's future, and how we can contribute to creating a global city. Already we're seeing investment and growth in the Central River City, something a few years ago we could not quite have imagined. The broader economic corridor from Westmead through Camellia, Auburn and to right here at Sydney Olympic Park maps out a powerful economic footprint that takes in world-class health, education, research, technology, financial and businesses services, arts, culture and heritage. The Greater Sydney Commission, soon to become the Greater Cities Commission, has predicted population growth in the Central River City of around 400,000 people in the years to 2036. More businesses and jobs, better transport connections with Metro West and the North West Rail Link, improved green, public and open spaces and infrastructure. These are all making the Central River City one of Greater Sydney's most attractive places to live, work and play. Planning for growth like this is complex. It takes smarts and effort. It takes collaboration and negotiation. It takes bold decision making based on solid evidence. The Dialogue Stuck in the Middle report from a couple of years back pointed very clearly to some of the issues holding back the potential of the Central River City. In a very personal foreword to that discussion paper, Chris Brown rightly called out how momentum between the eastern and western parkland cities threw into relief the comparative lack of progress being made in the central city, despite significant investment. The discussion paper identified a critical break: coordination. And I'm pleased to say the government has listened. In September, we announced the creation of the Central River City Program Coordination Office. Doesn't yet have a catchy acronym, I'm afraid, which will be based out of DPI's Planning Delivery Unit, the PDU. The key word here is a delivery, a word I championed when I established and ran the PDU, and one which I will continue to champion now as Secretary. The office will coordinate the delivery of 64 infrastructure projects worth up to $4 billion across 10 infrastructure agencies. That is no mean feat, and it will take a lot of work bringing together government agencies, councils, infrastructure providers, developers, and the community. But this is actually the kickstart we need to address some of those issues raised in the Stuck in the Middle report. It's what we need to do to provide homes, jobs, public spaces and infrastructure from Strathfield to Westmead, the economic spine of the Central River City. In the time since I set up the Planning Delivery Unit this year, there is no question that it has delivered on its promise. The PDU has helped steer 416 projects totalling $57 billion through the planning system in the year to July 2021. We've done this by building relationships based on trust, focusing on outcomes and delivery, and taking on wicked problems collaboratively. It's a strong platform on which the Central River City Program Coordination Office can build, using that same approach to support the delivery of 84,000 new homes and 105,000 new jobs over the next 2 decades. Of course, none of this can be looked at without a laser focus on our post-pandemic economic recovery. Beyond the work of the Central River City Program Coordination Office, the department has a critical role to play in supporting the restoration, rebuilding, reimagining and reshaping of our city after COVID. In addition to the work of the Planning Delivery Unit, we've continued to work with key stakeholders across government and industry to modernise the planning system in order to support the changing nature of our economy and how we live. These reforms are essential because new growth and new communities deserve infrastructure, great public spaces and jobs. This is an absolute priority for DPI. We're continuing to invest in infrastructure with development infrastructure funding. In this financial year alone, we've seen $292 million released. We've worked hard with councils to deliver targeted financial support in the form of the Accelerated Infrastructure Fund. The first round of funding saw essential infrastructure projects being delivered in collaboration with council and industry, and the second round is only going to expand on that support to support new growth. We've also launched key initiatives designed to not only encourage investment, but also to enrich the fabric of our communities. The New South Wales Public Spaces Legacy Program and the FUNCEP, it does what it says on the can, it's for fun, are all about creating livable, workable and beautiful spaces for the communities we serve. That's why we're continuing to streamline planning for new investment through simplified employment zones and supporting the growing e-commerce sector and data centres through faster assessments. Ultimately, all the work we do at DPI needs to be looked at through the lens of bringing the state back to life. As the Premier would have indicated earlier today, the economic recovery does need to be balanced with delivering the things that people love about where they live. High quality homes, easy access to transport, jobs, open space and good infrastructure. This focus on good growth is at the heart of all our planning work, and it's particularly relevant for the Central River City. That good growth is happening right now, and it's framed through our strategic planning work. For example, we're currently working on the plans for the 6,000 hectare Greater Parramatta to Olympic Peninsula corridor, the GPOP, an area set to grow and change significantly. Our plan will set a 20-year vision for the corridor, establishing land use plans for each of the GPOP's 26 precincts. The strategic plan will also be supported by a special infrastructure contribution to be paid by developers to support local infrastructure needs. This is aimed at building infrastructure where it's required and at the right time. We're working closely with local government and state agencies in the development of the plan, and will be coming to the community next year for its critical input into the future vision of GPOP. We've already prepared a draft strategy for Westmead, set to become one of Australia's premier health and innovation districts. The draft strategy was exhibited earlier this year, and it proposes a world-class precinct centred on the 2 hospitals and extending to Parramatta North, where a new university and enterprise precinct is proposed. It also proposes a walkable neighbourhood with more housing choice and diversity, an urban village at its heart, and excellent public transport connections. We'll soon exhibit a draft place strategy for Camellia Rose Hill. Like Westmead, Camellia Rose Hill plays a significant strategic role in Greater Parramatta and Olympic Peninsula through its contribution to the GPOP economic corridor. Camellia Rose Hill does have the potential to become a vibrant hub with jobs, housing, entertainment facilities, open space and a promenade along the Parramatta River. And we'll see this place, Sydney Olympic Park, transformed by the Metro in just a few years, taking this iconic location, which, and I have a fun fact here, is 10 times the size of Disneyland, from a suburban oasis to a vibrant urban centre. We'll see a vital role for Sydney Olympic Park in the delivery of new jobs and homes around the Central River City over the next 2 decades. And as you'll hear later today from my DPI colleague Anita Mitchell, CEO at Placemaking New South Wales, we're starting early work now on master planning for the precinct's future with Metro in mind. We're framing the vision for all of these areas, but it will take collaboration with local and international businesses, local government, and most of all the community to ensure that they are built and they thrive. I couldn't leave here today without talking about housing. Housing is the hot topic as we head into 2022 and beyond. And this is as real an issue in the Central River City as anywhere in the state. At its simplest, I believe we must ensure that people, regardless of income or status, have the opportunity to access suitable housing. Whether you are a single parent, a student, a first home buyer, a recently arrived migrant, or you live with a disability, you should have a roof over your head. You must have a roof over your head. The planning system alone can't ensure this, but it does play a central role. And in taking on the challenge, we will absolutely make sure we are doing everything we can, every lever we can pull, to unlock more diverse housing supply through the planning system. We've introduced new legislation to fix the uncertainty of infrastructure contributions, unlock new housing, and support new infrastructure investment, from parks to roads to paths for growing communities. We've introduced a new housing state environmental planning policy, Housing SEP, simplifying and streamlining the system and giving more people greater housing diversity and affordability to meet their changing circumstances in every stage of life. We've incentivised build-to-rent housing through the New South Wales planning and tax systems, with its use now allowed in residential and business zones to provide a new housing option and long-term rental security. We've approved local housing strategies for 30 metropolitan councils across Sydney, supporting delivery of additional housing in these LGAs over the next 15 years. And it is absolutely integral that we partner with and work collaboratively with councils to take on our housing challenge. And we're soon to introduce a new draft design and place state environmental planning policy, the Design and Place SEP, a new approach to planning for a better way of living in denser environments. These are all in addition to our significant pandemic response efforts over the last 18 months to reduce assessment timeframes across all planning pathways, incentivise councils to speed up local development, and to fast-track projects to keep people in jobs and the economy moving. These reforms indicate a long-term commitment to continual improvement to the system to deliver housing, but also to deliver the parks, the places of business, and the places of leisure that create a community. The Central River City has the potential to be the jewel in the crown of the government's vision for a metropolis of 6 cities and the Premier's vision for a true global city. This is a legacy we can deliver, but only by working more closely together. We're already making some great progress, realising some of the ambitions identified by the Dialogue Stuck in the Middle discussion paper. We're speeding up the planning system and introducing reforms that will be game-changing in terms of jobs, investment and housing supply. We're breathing life back into local business that will always be the backbone of economic recovery, particularly in the West. And the relationship, I believe, between state and local government has never been stronger. This is evidenced by the collaboration we've seen recently on infrastructure contributions, our work together in COVID support for communities, and through the work of the Planning Delivery Unit. Paul Keating once said, "If you're living in Australia and you're not living in Sydney, you're camping out." I reckon if you're living in Sydney and you're not living, working or playing in Western Sydney, you're missing out. Western Sydney, and at its heart, the Central River City, is not just the geographical heart of our metropolis. It's the industrial heart, the administrative heart, the natural heart, the artistic and heritage heart, above all, the diverse heart. It's a microcosm for our nation, a melting pot of language, culture, food, sport and music. It's an economic and cultural engine room fueled by the passion, determination and resilience of the communities that live and thrive there. It's a boomtown, and it's about as Australian as it gets. Thank you.